5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ready.
Just relax and enjoy the ride.
In crowd, 815, in crowd, 815, in crowd, 815, in crowd, 815.
I'm pretty sure once we get to interplanetary travel, we'll have seasonal price fluctuations during specific times, due to proximity between the two planets that we're traveling between. I'm Greg. He's Tom. This is your In Crowd 815 podcast for the 14th day of December, the year 2024, the latest it has ever been
in the history of mankind. And speaking of the planets, I'm sure you're going to have some planets that are much more affluent, shall we say, higher echelon. So, yeah, if you want to travel to Venus, Venus is probably going to be pretty highbrow. But if you want to travel to Uranus, well, let's not even go there.
Let's not even go there. We got a great show for you, and the person's still sleeping next to you. Maybe give him a little nudge.
We're off to a rousing start. Sorry about that.
Greg and Tom
all you folks in podcast land.
Can always count on you to sum it up.
I know.
We got some great guests this week.
My producer, I'm blaming him.
Okay.
Where's my producer? Can't see him now.
Well, back up your
there
camera.
He is.
You can see.
There he is. There's my producer.
Did you name the bear producer? Is he,
Well, as a matter of fact, his actual name is Mr. Squishy Face.
Mr. Squishy Face. There you go.
Yeah, Mr. Squishy Face.
That's a little long. MSF. No, that's not right either. Don't want to say that.
Call him Squishy. I don't know. My daughters named him when I had my motorcycle accident years ago, which is, I wear this because it's compression. It helps it. It makes it feel better. Mostly I wear it when I'm DJing because the microphone is very heavy. So I just kind of get used to wearing it. Well, anyway, we were going to the movies one day and JCPenney Outlet was still open at McChesney Mall back when it was kind of a mall.
Yeah.
And I was carrying a pillow under my arm. I was in a wheelchair because I'd had a pretty bad accident. My arm was completely messed up. I had a fixator on my arm. And we went into JCPenney and there was a bin full of Squishy Faces. And I picked him out and I'm like, oh, he's mine. It was $10. Best $10 I've ever spent. So I put him under my arm. I had a pillow under my arm, but it kept getting sweaty and nasty. So, and it looked awful. So then we got Mr. Squishy Face and had him ever since. My daughters claim that I named him. I would have probably named him like Brett Favre or something, or something.
Brett the Bear. But no, it's
Brett Bear, yeah. Fox News, yeah.
Producer Squishy over there in the corner making sure that we are on live and on all the channels. And we are. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on X. And we're glad that you're there. There is a couple places where if you make your comments, we can see them and reply to them and respond to them. Unfortunately, there's a couple of those platforms that aren't. For example, on Instagram, as far as I know, if you comment on our Instagram feed during the show, it won't pop up on my Restream screen. I have to actually look at my Instagram screen, which I don't always have up. Little background behind the curtain peek here for you for what goes on as we produce, independently produce our podcast. Maybe I'll talk about that when I mention Karen later. Before we get to our guests, we got some business to take care of, so let's do this first. Our current race to 10 has me in the lead by a score of 2-1, and this week's big number of the week is 2.2 billion. Tom, the answer is it Swift or Soto? Swift or Soto? We'll give you the answer before the end of the show. As of right now, go ahead and put your guesses in the comments somewhere. And the answer is Swift or Soto. One of those two words has something to do with our big number of the week this week, 2.2 billion. And we'll share that with you at the end and see if I stumped Tom or not. He's probably sending me his answer right now.
I just did.
and that's
To
cool.
me, it seems like a no-brainer.
Okay. I encourage all of our viewers and listeners, go ahead and Google search. Try to find it. Use your best AI and see if you can figure out what the answer is this week. And we'll share it before the end of the show. All right. Let's see. I can take that off the screen. I can remind you that we want you to send us your 815 photos. Those can be sent, DM those to us, drop them in the comments. What 815 photos do you have to share with us over the last month? Did you go to Stroll on State? Are you wearing your 815 gear out and about as your holiday shopping or whatever else? Share your 815 photos here on the InCrowd 815 podcast. And as always, please follow us on Spotify. Search for InCrowd 815 podcast. And if you could be so kind, please leave us a 5-star review. Anytime we get one more of those, I do a happy dance. I haven't filmed it yet, but I do a very, very eclectic and energetic happy dance.
What if we just don't quite hit that high mark? What if I say something really stupid and make somebody mad and they only want to give us 3.5 stars? You don't want them giving us 5 if they don't really feel it in their gut, do you?
Even if you didn't like the show, please leave us a 5-star review.
All right, there you go.
Go ahead and throw it out there. All right. Well, our guests this week are a part of something called Carepatrol, and I think I have a banner to put up here for us. There we go. Carepatrol, your partner in senior care solutions. And Carrie Grubanowitch, we've known each other now for I think about a year. I think it's maybe just a little bit less than a year that I've gotten to know Carrie, and she's gotten involved very heavily in our networking groups here around the 815, and she brings with us some guests that I'm going to let her introduce because I didn't catch all their names. I got a couple names, but I don't get the third person's name. So, Carrie, welcome to the InCrowd 815 podcast.
Thanks, Greg.
How are you all today?
We're great.
Awesome. And you're in somebody's house.
Yep, we're in Barb's house. She's the facilitator of the non-for-profit Alzheimer'S group that I support, and we're going to talk about. Awesome.
Okay. Well, as we always like to do to get to know. Oh, you said.
I know.
No, he's not a barker at all.
That's funny. Our therapy dog.
I think it's Barb's husband that surprised her. Sorry about that.
That's funny.
No need to apologize. We crying babies and barking dogs, meowing cats. We love them all.
That's right. So we like to get to know who is on the show. So where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? We want to make fun of your high school mascot if we can. That's just something that we like to do. And then maybe a mini career arc of what led you to where you are today. Who'd like to go first?
I'll kick us off. So
right,
my name is Carrie Grubanowitch. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So another Packer fan.
Yes.
And the high school that I went to is Milwaukee Lutheran, and we were the Knights.
All right. Can't make fun of the Knights. I don't know that there's nothing funny about the Knights.
And went to Marquette University, and I was the last year that graduated as a Warrior.
Sure.
All right.
My
We
dad
don't need
went
those
there.
golden eagles.
Well, it's funny that you say that. My brother is an Eagle, and my dad and I ridicule him all the time. So
I went to Muskego High School, so we're the Warriors.
banter.
I went to Muskego High School in Wisconsin. We were the Warriors, and they still are the Warriors.
Good for you.
Yes.
So
I'm still waiting for the Jefferson Jayhawks to get some kind of trouble here. Well, you can't. That's offensive to birds. Never mind. Go ahead.
Then I got my master's degree at UW Milwaukee. They're the Panthers. And I've been in IT for 30 years, and I was downsized, and I did an assessment, and I've always wanted to start my own business. And I was told that because I understand technology and complicated things that I should get into healthcare and the senior sector. And that's when I opened up my own business, bought into Carepatrol franchise, and I support Metro Rockford and Freeport, as well as to the north of us, Rock County and Greene County. So I help families find assisted living, memory care, and respite care for their loved ones. And that's why I'm a huge supporter of the Alzheimer's support group and partnering with these great people, helping Alzheimer's caregivers understand that when they're unable to care for their loved one, that I'm here as a resource to help them with that next step.
Okay, very important stuff. All right, who wants to go next?
I will. I'm Floyd Kuhn. I grew up in Central Illinois. I went to two small high schools, San Joe's High School and Green Valley High School. Less than 100 kids, about 100 kids in each high school.
All right. Did you have a good mascot?
I grew up on a farm.
Okay,
And,
what was your high school mascot?
Pardon?
Your high school mascot?
Well, when I was at San Joe's, it was the Red Devils, and Green Valley, it was the Hornets.
The Hornets. Oh, all right. All right.
I was an athlete, 3-sport athlete, all 4 years. Came up to, most of the kids in my area went to Illinois State, but my sister was 2 years older. Came up to Northern Illinois and DeKalb, and and my sister came up here, and that's why I came so far north rather than stay down south. And I have a bachelor's, master's degree in education. I was a teacher for 40 years in the Rockford Public Schools. I was at West High, Auburn High, and Jefferson to finish up my career. Actually,
Jayhawks.
taught my 2 boys. That was interesting. And I've been retired now for 12, 13 years, I guess. Wow. And my wife, we're not ready to talk about that yet, right?
You can.
My wife ended up with dementia, Alzheimer's. That was quite a journey. I assume we'll get to talk about that later. And I've been retired now for several years, and I recently sold my house and moved into an apartment to do what they call a new normal. People who go through this process are looking for ways to move forwards rather than backwards, and that was one of the ways that I moved forward.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay.
Bear fan and a Los Angeles Dodger fan.
My dad. That's a crazy combination right there.
Yeah, my dad grew up a Brooklyn Dodger fan, and it just stayed in the family even when they always lost.
Follow the Dodgers.
Follow the Dodgers, even with all that money. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All right. Who's next?
I'll say I'm Margie Force. I grew up in Door County, Wisconsin. My family has been there for generations. I went to a rural school called Sevastopol. I was a pioneer. And from there, I went to Concordia when it was in Milwaukee, and then finished up Concordia River Forest. I did teach north of Detroit in Port Huron, Michigan, and then married and family. So I've lived in Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, and Pennsylvania, and have only been in Rockford for 17 years now. So I'm kind of the new kid on the block here in Rockford, but have had just an interesting journey along the way, different things that I've been involved in, different people I've met. I have 4 sons, and, it was a lively household growing up. So I feel like I survived raising 4 children without having the help of family around, because in my adult life, I never lived near family, so I didn't have that support. So that's kind of being part of the Alzheimer's support system was really important to me. And I'm sure we'll get into some of that later, but awesome. Such is my life.
Okay, Margie.
Artist.
Oh, yes, I am an artist. I've been showing my work recently. For years, it was just where I did it for fun and to give to family. But after I retired a few years ago, I became more active and have done more. So that's been an exciting part, but it's been a little bit of a heartbreak when my husband became so ill and died as a result of his diseases. But I am getting back into my art again.
Good.
It's good therapy, isn't it?
Well, beyond that, it's using a gift God has given me.
Yeah, very good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Margie?
Next, I'm Barb Manning. I was born and raised in Rockford. I attended, Boylan, Go Titans, Rock Valley, and Northern Illinois University. I was involved with the PTO for 8 years with my daughter's school, so pretty much a stay-at-home mom for that time. And after that, I trained at the Alzheimer's office, not the office, the association, who used to have a large presence in Rockford, to become a facilitator. And I think it's been 27 years I've been doing this now. So we do not stop. During COVID, we never stopped. We kept our meetings going on. We meet twice a month. We have this wonderful group, and I've been very fortunate to meet some wonderful people, and they really give each other a lot of support.
Nice. Good deal. Well,
We have
this
an all-star cast here.
yeah, we do, and I think it's really important because most people know, but there are those who don't. When you explain to a person what Alzheimer's is, how do you explain to them what is Alzheimer's? Who would like to take up that and explain what Alzheimer's actually is?
So Alzheimer's is a disease, and it's usually in people that are older, but not necessarily. There are people that are younger that have it. And it's where your short-term memory or long-term memory just escapes you. And it's usually one or the other. And it's also people that have problems making judgment calls. So they don't realize they're smelling or they need to change their clothes every day. They may be, when the disease progresses, they have problems eating or even talking. So it's where your brain stops working. And I don't want to say normal, because what is normal nowadays? But when you can't do what they call activities of daily living and you need help, and it's because of your brain, it's not because of your abilities. When we get older, either one of two things gets us. Either our body gives out, so our arms are hurting or our legs are hurting, or our brain gives out. And so Alzheimer's is everything associated with your mind.
Okay. And as far as medically speaking, they're still trying to figure out exactly what causes it. Is there?
Yep. There's a lot of studies going on. Actually, I'm bringing in to our next support group, which is next week, Thursday, radio waves. So I don't know if you remember the old dryers they put on your head, in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that they put on your head, and it helps with anxiety, depression, and it also has effects on slowing dementia and Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of studies going on. There's also medicine that's out there that supposedly helps, but yeah, it's an ongoing study, and there is not a cure yet.
No. And as far as numbers of people affected, is this something that's been getting worse and worse and worse, more and more and more people, or has it been kind of steady over the decades as far as you have heard, as far as the number of people affected?
I think people are becoming more aware of it. A lot of people would discount Alzheimer's dementia as you're getting old and not having it diagnosed properly. I think with awareness and people understanding the different flavors of dementia, Alzheimer's is one of those. Dementia is the higher level, and there's different types of dementia, like frontal temporal. Everybody knows that because of Bruce Willis and Wendy Williams, they're celebrities. And Alzheimer's is a form of dementia.
Okay.
So it can take many different forms too. We think of cancer as having many different types of cancer, but they can have different types of Alzheimer's too.
That's a good point, because there's cancers of all different parts of the body, but I guess when you think of Alzheimer's, you just think of the brain, period. And so it's one thing, right? There's probably a lot of different things affected by it. And can you speak to any? Can you speak some experience to any of that? The people that you've been involved with, have they experienced different forms of Alzheimer's that you were trying to treat?
Oh yes, I'll go first. It's important to try to get a proper diagnosis, and the medical profession is is not too well versed on it. Unfortunately, that's one thing that the National Association could work on, is getting more information out there. But we started out with my wife in 2019. She was just having trouble reading, and we went through numerous eye doctors. Nobody had any answers. Ended up at the University of Iowa Lab School, and that eye doctor knew immediately what was wrong with her. And it was a very rare type of Alzheimer's. It was called PCA, post-cortical atrophy, and it's sometimes known as visual variant Alzheimer's. And for her, unfortunately, it meant that she was going legally blind, and she ended up legally blind. And then we took it from there.
Okay.
Is there an average age when it starts? Is 60, or because you had mentioned, Carrie, I think you mentioned that it doesn't necessarily just strike older people. It sometimes strikes younger people as well. What's the median? What is the average? About 55, 60?
I don't really know that answer.
You can't really give it an age because it can hit you at 45, 60. You just never know.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is I hear a lot of people, they'll say stuff like, oh, gee, I've got a really good friend who he can't remember his own middle name sometimes. And it's like, I can't wrap my head around it. He's got a doctorate. He's a very bright guy, but he's forgetting the weirdest things. This little thing right here is his arch enemy. The phone I'm holding up in case you can't see it. He forgets it. He'll walk out. He'll forget his keys, walk out to the car. Oh, I forgot my phone. He'll go back in, drop his keys off, grab his phone, go back out. Oh, I forgot my keys. And I'm a little bit concerned.
Don't let him drive.
Does he drive?
Yeah, he drives. He teaches young children. No, he's fully capable of everything. It's just that quick short-term thing. And I don't know what to tell him other than the fact that write yourself a little note, put a note on your steering wheel. Did I remember my phone? Well, I'll forget to put the note on the steering wheel. Oh, dude, I can't help you if you're going to say no every time. You're going to have to listen a little better. But that's
if that person's forgetting the keys to the car, they shouldn't be driving, because if you're driving, you have to react, and their reaction time is not what it needs to be. So I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah, it may just, this is kind of why I'm asking. I don't know if they're correlated. He drives just fine. He does everything he does just fine.
So
it's just those little things.
Mechanically, they can do things. So they can drive, they can walk, they can eat, but making decisions, that's what they can't do. So sometimes if they're seeing something, they can't react. So I don't want that person to be hurting
probably right
someone.
on that, yeah.
And at the end, there's I'll talk about some resources in the area that if people have loved ones that they think they should be diagnosed, I'll give resources that you can get a diagnosis. OSF is a great resource here in the community.
Okay. All right, that sounds good.
The one thing that's really important to know is if he ever picks up his keys and doesn't know what to do with them, then that's a big sign.
Okay, yeah.
That's when you know for sure, I suppose. That's What are these for again? That would be a.
It's an odd-looking toothpick.
Yeah, exactly. I want to bring up your Facebook page here, Carrie, so people can see when they look up. I put the link in the chat so people can see where that is at right there. So is the group that you host, is this a monthly group, a weekly group? Tell us a little bit about the Alzheimer's support group.
We meet twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably an average of 15 people that attend. There's more people, but because they have 2 dates, they just pick whichever meeting they want to come to, or sometimes they come to both. And it's, we've become a family basically, with everyone going through their personal struggles, a lot of deaths. People that have lost their spouses in our group still come to the meeting, and they can offer assistance to other people. So we're almost like a grief group in a way, as a support group. And it's just a wonderful group of people. They're very knowledgeable. I can't imagine finding all the information out anyplace else in our group because they've all been through it.
Yeah. And that's an important thing, I think, for a lot of people that have there's different levels of grief, and everyone is an individual. Every individual expresses their grief in different ways. So to have a group of people to say, it's here are people who have been where you are and have come out on the other side, and that's a very important thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And they can actually say, I know how you feel. I've been there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Right. And this is a group that meets in Rockford?
In Rockford at the Ken Rock Community Center, at the first and third Thursday of each month at 9:00.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody can come. It's on the website. It's on Ken Rock's website. I am not associated with the Alzheimer's Association anymore. I don't think, because there's new people coming that haven't really kept up to date with the facilitators. We don't have very many facilitators, and we don't have very many groups in Rockford. So we're probably the biggest support group.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, because so many people have been affected by this, I'm sure there's a whole lot more people that would come if they knew about it. So hopefully this will be part of the awareness for that. Is there a limit to how many people you can have at a group meeting like this?
We probably couldn't handle more than 30 because it wouldn't be fair to the people. They probably wouldn't get a chance to really speak. But if that happens, then we'll just try to find another facilitator that can, and that's what the Alzheimer's the office is supposed to be doing. But they're doing a lot of fundraising these days, so that's the concern of them.
The fundraising needs to trickle down, as they say.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need money for research and all that, but you heard Barb say that she had some training. We need more people who are willing to be trained, but they seem to have lost interest in getting people trained so that we can have more groups, because we're a community of 150,000. And if we're talking 15 people, there are so many more that could use the help that we provide.
And we need social workers. They used to offer social workers. They had a library that you could find just about any book that you needed. They had classes. It seems like we're going backwards instead of forwards with that. I really wish they would realize that.
Well, the whole social service sector, is experiencing a growing pain that we all, I think, are starting to realize in one shape or form or another, as our families experience different ailments or diseases or whatnot. And of course, the mental health sector right now is just in desperate need of a lot of workers. So we're definitely going through a shift in services needed in our world, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
So let this be a call, I guess, to anyone who wants to serve the Alzheimer's community. If you have a heart for it and want to learn more about it, this is a need for facilitators for groups like this and other educational things.
Yes.
Is there what else would you hope someone asked you about when it comes to your group, or becomes to before we get to all things specifically Carepatrol? Is there anything else that you would hope people ask you about the Alzheimer's support group that you want to make sure that we get out there so people understand what it is that you do and what you're all about?
Well, when Carrie came to our meeting for the first time, it was like a godsend, because there were so many members that needed help placing their loved ones. And that's what you really can't find here. The Association for Aging, they have a lot of information. That's a good place to go. But we really need to just share all this information for people. There used to be social workers at hospitals that would help them do that. I don't know if there's any more help with that. So we just really need to help the caregivers. They really don't get a lot of help. The Northern Illinois Aging Association offers grants up to $1,000 for in-home care. That's something that's very important that people could visit. But we just need to get the word out to help caregivers, because the stress they go through makes them ill at times, and then they're not able to take care of their loved one.
That's there's the very important point right there with the caregivers. Once they start going down in health, now we have a really big problem on our hands. So we got to care for the caregivers. It's a great point. And I'm sure Carrie can speak a little bit about to that. The Care Patrol. I'm on your Facebook page here, obviously, and wanted to see what about Care Patrol that you would like to focus on, Carrie. I've got the link to your actual site here and bring that up so you can kind of talk about what Care Patrol is, your partner in senior care solutions, and some of the stuff that you are seeing around the Rockford metro area.
So, like I said, I partner with the support group to support the caregivers and have me as a resource for them when they can no longer take care of their loved ones. So I do focus on placement in memory care, assisted living, or respite care. And what respite care is a short stay in a community. So if a caregiver needs a week to go on vacation with some family members to take a break for themselves, we've all flown in airplanes, right? What's the first thing they tell you when the air mask comes down? Put it on yourself first and then help others, right? You can't help others unless you're taking care of yourself. So respite stays are a really good way of making sure your loved one is cared for a week to 2 weeks. And then you can kind of relax and rejuvenate and then come back to your loved one. So that's a nice resource and an option for folks to have. And I also bring other resources to the Alzheimer's support group, like, what are the right neurologists to go to? If I want a diagnosis, where do I go and who do I talk to? Like I said, I'm bringing in this therapy treatment that, is newer to the area. So I network throughout of Rockford and also northern or southern Wisconsin. And if there's something that I think would benefit the group and the caregivers, I bring it in as another resource for them. So again, my services are completely free to families. They can reach out to me, and if they need guidance or, again, placement, I'm happy to help. And again, the caregivers really need the support so they can keep on helping their loved one.
Okay.
Reach to other communities too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I also support like Parkinson's disease, and getting involved in muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, any of those diseases that are debilitating.
Okay. And I guess that does kind of lead to some people might question where do you get your funding from? Who actually makes sure that this service gets funded, since your services are free?
So once I place someone in a community, they pay me a placement fee. So I'm creating a win-win scenario for all parties involved. I'm helping the family finding the right care that their loved one needs. I'm filling a vacancy in a community, and again, I'm getting paid and helping the family find the right place for their loved one to be taken care of.
Okay. That's good. We've got your phone number, your website up on the screen so people can see where you're at there, carepatrol.com/rock-county-metro-rockford. And that is in the chat if you want to reach out to Carrie directly through her website right there. And there's a lot of different resources on here. I mean, it's, how we help, care costs, care options. You have an Alzheimer's care guide. I'm assuming that's a guide to local nursing homes as well. Bunch of different care resources and stuff on here as well. So,
and what I'll be doing, I haven't done this, but for next year, I'm going to be posting all of the dates for the Alzheimer's support group that we're representing today. So that people can go out as a quick reference. They can see the dates. Like Barb said, it's the first and third Thursday, but sometimes it's good to see the dates out there. So I'll be posting that to the website.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of resources. And like you say, it's when you're entering into this for the first time, there's that shock value, right? It's, oh my gosh, we have to deal with something I've never dealt with before. If you've never had a family member in this situation before, it can be overwhelming. So to have someone who has been through it before and can kind of guide you through what you can and can't and should and shouldn't be doing in the next steps of the care of your loved one, it's nice to have that resource, starting with Carrie, going through a group like your group here. And this is a great resource for everybody. So check out Carepatrol and be sure that that's on your top of mind for resources for anyone that you might come across that is in need.
And I'd like to speak up a little bit now because I feel like these resources are here, even though there really should be more resources and all of that. But coming from where I'm coming from, I've known a number of people who had loved ones with dementia or very serious problems, and they've thought they could handle it on their own. And I've seen them diminish, under the struggle of trying to provide care for somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. And it takes such a toll on them that they do fall apart and aren't able to manage. And our society kind of thinks like, I can handle it. I can just tough up. I can be independent or whatever. But, this is so overwhelming that you cannot easily stand up to it without a support group around yourself. And my husband's sister actually developed Alzheimer's a few years before he did. And so we watched her progress through the disease and the disabilities it causes. We saw our family struggle to maintain. They did not go to support group, and it was not easy for them. And when I saw my husband begin to show some of the signs that are very subtle at first, and you can look at them and try to explain them away, but I knew from having just seen my husband's sister go through this, what was going to be happening. And I did not want to be in denial about it. I did not want to struggle through this myself. It was a choice that I made early on. I need to find a support group around myself. And as I started talking to family and friends, trying to figure out who would be there to help me through some of the dark, dark moments you go through, some of the physical disabilities that happen, I realized then people who have not been through it cannot support you through it. They have no clue. They think they do, but they do not. And so I started looking for an Alzheimer's support group, and I actually attended 3. And this group with Barb Manning as the facilitator, it had people in it who were going through stuff, who had the knowledge to help me through it. But the big thing is they had the compassion to really just help me through, because it's not just an intellectual thing you're dealing with. You are dealing with such a range of emotions and physical stress that without a support group, boy, you are going to have a very, very hard time. So from where I'm coming from, just trying to help people understand they cannot do this alone easily.
Yeah.
It is a very hard journey to be on, and it is, nobody would choose this journey. And people I talk to who don't understand it, it's like, I'm glad you don't understand it. I hope you never have to understand it. But I need somebody who does understand the depth of the pain I'm going through and the depth of some of the hurt and the difficulty. And this group provides the compassion that goes with that, the knowledge that goes with that, and the resources that go with that. It is so important to get the word out there. You need help of a support group. It will make it easier, but it will never be easy.
Can I say something really quick, if that's all right? Alzheimer's is a fatal disease. You can be diagnosed and pass away in 6 months. You can have the disease for 20 months. you are eligible for hospice if your doctor will sign off, because it is a fatal disease. So that's important for people to know.
Okay. Okay. And that is a really good point you make there too, as far as, I think you know about the mental toll that it's going to take on you, but there's a physical toll too.
Yes.
And to have someone to be able to say, hey, you're going to want to do this, that, or the other thing to make sure that that you're taking care of your body, not just your mind. Yes, your mind is important too, obviously, but making sure that your body is cared for as well. So you can continue to care for your loved one that needs your physical presence there. So that's extremely important.
Yeah. We address the guilt issue too, because guilt comes up all the time for the caregiver. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? And this is where our group can be a very valuable asset to help us through that issue too. You have to give yourself a little grace too.
Yeah.
But we concentrate on helping the people that are entering into this problem, and we need to focus on ourselves as well. That's just as important. I remember when I was going through it with my wife, my one son said, there were many times I was lucky. I was able to keep my wife at home for the most part until the very last week. But I never will forget the comment that my one son said, when I was doing the guilt trip, well, Dad, we need you too.
Mhm.
So that was important for me to hear that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's there's things you can do and there's things you can't do, right? There's things that you should do and you shouldn't do. And to be able to understand that when you're in the heat of the battle, that's a struggle. I mean, that's going to be a struggle for any situation that you're in with. That is, we all try to find the win-win solution, right? And then a lot of times there is no win. It's just what's the lesser of two evils, right? You're the rock or the hard place. So, and knowing that someone shares your, it has compassion on the fact that you have to make tough decisions for your loved one, that neither one feels good. So knowing that someone has been through that before and can actually say, hey, here's where plan A is probably going to take you. Here's where plan B is probably going to take you. Is there a plan C? Let's talk about that. But yeah, having someone who's been through it and knows that you're making tough decisions, it's the best that you possibly can. That's huge. So.
Well, the other thing, Greg, that I think that Floyd and Margie can attest to is that this disease not only affects the spouse, but also the entire family and how they respond to it. And, with Alzheimer's too, someone could be masking and be perfectly fine for an hour, and people come and they're like, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. Yeah. And then if you're there 5 hours later, it just changes on a dime. And, that's the other thing that the support group really does help with, are the family dynamics and understanding, like, well, my son is not seeing, my husband or wife, acting out, or because they're there for the token hour that they're actually somewhat normal, but they don't live with it day in and day out. And that's the other thing too, is trying to bring family on board and understanding the disease too.
It's like taking your car to the mechanics and it doesn't act up with the mechanics there with the engine open looking at it. I don't hear anything. Yeah. Honestly, it was banging all the way here.
Yeah. That's an analogy that kind of makes sense too. So
yeah.
Well, is there anything that we did not talk about yet that we wanted to make sure we touch on before we let you go?
I just want to mention there's a financial drain on a great deal of people if they aren't prepared or don't have long-term insurance, and it's very difficult for them sometimes to place their loved one because facilities are very expensive.
Right.
So that's another big problem.
Well, I'm going to speak up now, and this kind of toots Carrie's horn. But before we knew about Carrie, I was visiting homes, and I visited 14 different places. And some of them I would never, ever have considered placing my husband. They just were not nice. And some of the nicer ones that I thought maybe I could place my husband, because I was becoming desperate. It was no longer safe to have him home on a number of levels. And I had to put my name on waiting lists. And some of the waiting lists cost $1,000 just to be on the waiting list.
Wow.
It was nuts. And it got to the point, I was calling the fire department twice a day, every day, to come and pick my husband up because I couldn't pick him up when he fell. And they looked at me one day after a few days of this and they said, "What is your plan? We cannot keep doing this." And it was a crisis. It was an absolute crisis. I had hospice at the time, and they were able to get me into a place for my husband for that respite care that Carrie talked about. Or I don't know what would have happened, but I was falling apart. My husband was falling apart. I couldn't keep him home. It was a crisis on so many levels. But if I had known about Carrie, she possibly could have gotten an open door for me at one of those places, because as an individual coming in, they were just saying, waiting list, put your name on it, give me your money. And with hospice, they were able to get me in when I really needed to be in. I could no longer keep him at home, and Carrie can help with that.
That's good.
You know, it's like, man, you just fall apart after a while because you cannot handle it, and Carrie is there for that help.
Yeah, I that reminds me of when my grandfather went through Alzheimer's, and he was a very big, strong man, and my grandmother was a very tiny woman. So her attempts to care for him as long as she could was a little bit on the futile side. It was very tough, and so he needed a facility a lot quicker than most, maybe because of that situation. There was just no way to care for him, and this was a long time ago. So there's seemingly more, I don't know, less understanding, but more space, I guess maybe is one way to look at it. There was a space for him fairly quickly, but knowing where the resources are today is what's important. So it's nice to know that we've got someone like Carrie to direct us into that direction and give us tips on what's going to be the best course of action. So
I'd like to give one more tip too.
Yes.
I haven't really mentioned it in our group, but I was blessed. We all know about long-term care insurance, and of course there are some ups and downs that go with that. But I was fortunate enough decades ago to purchase. My insurance agent talked me into what they call recovery care insurance. It doesn't do you any good at this stage of the game, but if you can take it out when you're younger and you can afford it, it allowed me thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to bring help into the home to help me take care of this problem. So I'm just putting it out there that if you're in your 40s and your 50s, and in addition to maybe considering long-term care insurance, there is a thing called recovery care insurance. And it helped me out immensely.
And be very careful about signing up for long-term care because it's tricky. So make sure you get some help doing that.
Yeah, get a trusted advisor that can explain that all to you, so you know what it actually covers. Like any insurance, there's always a lot of different little pieces here and there. So
Absolutely.
having someone you trust becomes very, very important. So, all right. Well, if you don't mind hanging out for just a few more minutes, we have some Tom's Trivia Challenge to take care of today, and would love your help to try to score some points against Tom over here. He's always got some challenging questions, and sometimes I'm on the ball and sometimes I'm not. So let's see what we can learn today from Tom's Trivia Challenge.
All right. So the rule basically is you four are a team. Greg's your teammate as well. He's kind of your phone a friend. If you don't get it, Greg gets a chance to answer it, but it's more for you guys rather than him. So you're a team. Don't worry about it. If one doesn't know it, someone else does. Your categories are pretty simple. Which came first? Birthdays, North or South. You'll like that one. Inauguration day quotes, Christmas math, and state capitals.
Oh my goodness.
All right. We're going to test your brains. Here we go. Question number 1. Which came first? Which shoe company came first? Was it Adidas or Puma?
Ooh.
Once again, which shoe company came first?
Adidas.
Is
I'm gonna
everybody
agree.
in
I'm gonna
in
agree with
agreement?
them. I think they've been around longer.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Adidas came around in 1949.
Okay.
So here's the thing. The creator of Adidas, his name was Adolf Dassler, Adidas. He actually created Puma in 1948. Liked what he did, and then created Adidas. So
Oh
Puma,
my goodness!
Puma is the answer.
Well,
Never would have guessed. Never would have guessed.
I know. That was a little unfair.
And they're both still
All right.
around.
apart.
Yeah.
Well, he's tricky. What golfer wore the Puma symbol?
Ooh, I don't know. Craig Stadler. I don't know. No, he was a
No.
walrus.
Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler. Okay.
I
Very
think
good.
you get your point back, Tom, because he had a good rebuttal.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Stump the host. Stump the host.
Half the point. All right, here we go. Birthdays. Drummer Meg White from the White Stripes had a birthday last Tuesday. Was she born before or was she born after the movie Stripes, starring Bill Murray, hit the big screen?
Funny question, Tom.
Come on, who are the
Yeah.
words? Oh,
So
Seven
I
Nation
would've-
Army.
I was gonna say-
Dun, 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 dun,
We're doing
dun,
after.
dun, dun.
yeah.
she I believe is younger than the movie. Oh gosh, that's a tough one because Stripes came out in what, 80, 81?
87. I thought it was 87.
No, 81. It came out in 81.
81, okay.
Okay. Oof.
We said she's born after it.
After.
I think she was born like in 83 or something like that. So I would say she's younger than the movie.
She is now 50 years old, born in 74.
Ah!
Oh. Well, you should just do the opposite of what we do.
Wow.
Just do the opposite of whatever we say.
All right.
I saw them
These-
as younger. Okay.
These are the 50-50 questions where I'm giving you two options. The next the next one's still a 50-50, but the next round, there's no 50-50s, but they might be easier questions. All right, here we go. The North and South Dakota became U.S. states when, okay, let me start over. When North and South Dakota became U.S. states, did they receive their statehood on the same day or were they 1 year apart?
Oh, jeez.
I would guess 1 year apart.
1 year apart.
1 year apart.
Okay.
1 year apart, we're saying.
All right. I'm a
Feel free to disagree if you want. I mean, you don't have to go with the group.
why it's time to merge them together and just call them Dakota, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, that's true. They were the same day, November 2nd, 1889.
All right.
See, you're right. He should take the
Yeah,
opposite
that's what
of
I told him
us. Yeah.
to do. He doesn't
We're-
let people don't listen to me.
Yes,
We're learning
take-
stuff
take
today.
The opposite there, Gregors.
We're-
All right. Inauguration Day quotes. This is one of my favorites. All right. In his inaugural address, this president was quoted as saying, "Government is not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem." Who said that?
Ronald Reagan.
Yes,
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. No need to rehash it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Government is not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem. Both Nancy and I agree. All right. All right. Nice comeback.
The scariest thing to ever hear. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. No.
Here you go. This one here is Christmas math. Are we ready for Christmas math?
Mhm.
Okay, it's not a lot. It's not tough. There's 3 questions involved in it. You have to add these 3 together. All right, add these 3 items together for your answer. The number of geese a-laying in the 12 days of Christmas.
7.
That's number 1. Number 2, according to Buddy the Elf, how many food groups are there? And finally, number 3, how many ghosts visit Scrooge in A Christmas Carol?
Do we know that? Do you know it's 7?
Is it 7?
7 and then
Is it 7? Because I can sing it.
11.
Add those 3 together and come up with your.
Yep.
Yeah.
11.
Oh, well, hold on.
All right.
You think it's 7 geese a laying?
Yep, that's what they said. I was going to sing it in my head, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay, so 7 geese of laying, 4
One
food groups. There's
Oh,
4.
I thought he said there's only one food group, which is the candy.
There's candy canes, candy corns, candy something, and syrup.
Okay.
4.
It's 6 geese a lane. I was going to say, I didn't know if it was 7. 6
Okay.
geese a lane. So it's
All right.
6 plus 4 is 10.
And then there's 3 ghosts, right? Christmas
That's
Carol.
correct.
Future,
Past, present, and
past, and
future.
present. So I think it's 13. I think
Yep,
we're
13.
Yeah.
Yep, we agree.
The answer is 14. Jacob Marley was a ghost.
Ah,
How many ghosts visited Scrooge?
that's a good one. That's a good one.
All right.
Well, I guess we're not winning any awards this week.
I have one of the food groups for you. I can send it to you. That's candy corn, in case you can't tell. One of the food groups. I got everything here.
I do like candy corn. All right.
All
Well,
right.
I appreciate you taking one more
question.
One more question. All right.
Yes.
Not done.
All right. What
Bonus
is the
question.
state capital of Maryland? State
Annapolis.
capital of Maryland.
Annapolis. Let's move on.
Whoa, I love the confidence. But I'm sorry, it's Annapolis. You're right. Very good. Very good.
I have a math in geography. So
Oh, geez. Do you really? Wow.
We weren't going to get that one wrong.
Nope.
Well, it's not set in stone yet, but it's almost set in stone. April 17th is most likely going to be our next masked karaoke trivia contest. And of course, this is something that we did in October, that 10 teams played for 10 local not-for-profits, and the winner won $1,000 for their not-for-profit. The winning team happened to be representing the Rockford Rescue Mission at our event in October. So pencil, don't pen it in yet, but pencil it in now. April 17th is our goal date for the next mass karaoke trivia contest. If you want to participate and represent a not-for-profit and possibly win them some prize money. I think before we let you go, our last thing, our big number of the week this week is 2.2 billion. And the answer is either Swift or Soto. Do any of you want to make a guess before we move on here and wrap things up?
Is that the amount of money Taylor Swift gave to all of her people for the tour?
No, 197,000 she did.
Oh,
Million. 170.
All right, then it's the other one. Then it's Soto.
Soto and Swift are the two guesses.
We're going to
this
guess
week.
Soto because it's not the amount of money she gave.
She gave 197 million.
So
Well,
that's-
yeah, but it could be something like 2.2 million downloads of her music too. It could be anything.
That's
I guessed Soto because I know that Juan Soto signed a big giant contract.
contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Is he a baseball player?
He is a baseball player.
He's a baseball player.
I don't think it was
was it?
2.2 billion, but
2.2
All right.
billion.
I'll give you 10 seconds to solidify your choice when I play this video right here. All right, final guess is the big number of the week.
We changed it because Floyd said that Soto got what?
756.
Okay.
So it's not that. So we're saying Swift, right?
Okay, so Tom is saying Soto. Our guests are saying Swift. The Eras tour that Taylor Swift just did was the highest earning tour in history. It came to an end on Sunday in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Doesn't matter how you feel about Swift's music. The numbers from CNN are pretty wild. She played 152 shows in 51 cities. 62 of those shows were in the U.S. across 23 cities. And the estimated gross revenue from Taylor Swift's Eras tour was $2.2 billion. The guests get the point. Yeah.
No, we got 3 right. Give the Floyd.
You get the point. You get the point. Juan Soto's contract with the Mets is a 15-year, $765 million contract, the biggest in sports history. Isn't it the Mets that are still paying one of their past players $1 million every year?
several teams. Yeah, Bobby Bonilla, I believe.
Bobby Bonilla.
There are several teams doing that. In the NFL, the Raiders are paying 3 former coaches right now. John Gruden, and 2 others. I can't
And
remember
2
who they are
others. Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. They're paying 3 former coaches. So
Because Juan Soto, I think, is 30 years old. 29 maybe?
20. No, I believe he's 26.
26. Okay.
26.
Okay.
26. So he'll be 30. He'll be 41 by the time the
41.
contract ends. But he won't even be in baseball by then.
Yeah.
I wonder.
He certainly won't be productive. So that's
I
just
hear.
dumb. And what they'll do is they'll backload a lot of this stuff so they don't take as big a hit first, and then he'll get a guarantee of probably 500 million or something like that. So
Well,
I imagine he'll live out 5 years of the contract.
we're gonna
That'll be
give
it.
Greg. We're gonna give Greg the point because Tom was not correct this week. So our race to 10 has me out in front by a score of 3-1 now. So there we go. I want to thank you guys for carving out time to join us today. And if there's anything else we can add to when we put this up on Spotify, you'll see some information on there. So just want you to know that you can share that link with anyone that you come in contact with on the social medias and stuff like that, emails and whatnot. So feel free to do that. And thanks again for all that you're doing for the community that you serve. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
having us.
All right. Thanks for setting this up, Carrie. We'll see you soon.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Happy
Thanks.
holidays.
Okay.
And there goes our friends now from Carepatrol and the Alzheimer's support group. I suppose we should probably, you probably want to talk a little bit of Packers football.
I would like to.
Do you want to talk a little Packers football? All right. So let's make sure we play this real quick. And we'll transition to all things. What's going on with our fun, fantastic, fabulous Green Bay Packers as they have to travel to Seattle? I think they leave this morning on the jet plane.
I'm leaving on a jet plane.
Yes.
All right. So let me start by saying I'm still aggravated by the Detroit game. Here's why I'm aggravated.
Uh-huh.
Loss is a loss. No big deal. Every once in a while you get an L.
They had them.
And they've got 9 wins, 4 losses. They're likely going to win out because I see them beating Seattle. They'll definitely beat New Orleans. I am pretty sure they're going to beat.
Will Chicago even show up?
Well, that last game, Chicago, they're going to want nothing more than to beat Green Bay, but it's in Green Bay. So good luck. Good luck. That's all I can say is good luck. And Green Bay may be fighting for the 5th playoff spot instead of the 6th. Not that it matters, but I'd still like to have the 5th rather than the 6th, because then if for some reason Minnesota gets lucky and wins and you end up playing Minnesota, then you would have the home field. That's a long shot. That's a ways away. We're not even focused on that. But here's why I'm so mad at the Detroit game. The more I've watched the videos, there's a lot of people far, far, far more well-versed than I on Packer football. And I have to say, I know my Packers, I know my football, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this kind of stuff. I've been watching a lot of the reactions and a lot of the media people, and not just Green Bay media people, just people in general that are talking about it, NFL Network, whatever, talking about what an absolute horrible officiating job they did. Amon-Ra St. Brown pushing over Keyshawn Nixon right in front of God and everyone else, and nothing gets called.
Yeah, it was bad.
A quarter earlier, or a quarter and a half earlier, or whatever, Keyshawn Nixon gets called for a pass interference that was not. I can't remember the play right now, but it simply wasn't. By the standards by which pass interference is measured, it was not pass interference. But forget about that. The biggest, most egregious one of all was the Josh Jacobs pass touchdown that he caught in the end zone that put Green Bay up 28-24, or did it? They said, nope, pass interference on Christian Watson. No, it wasn't. He was running a route, and Kirby Joseph ran into him and almost knocked him over. And they called a pick. First of all, he was moving. And a pick would be you've stopped and you're literally blocking him. He was moving. The guy ran into him. He was part of the play. Anyway, and then the pass interference to the helmet of Jordan Love wasn't called. And my God, there were 6 or 7 plays. Oh, and then the flop by Dan Skipper, who's 6'7" and 320 pounds, and Quay Walker pushes him away, which happens on a lot of plays. A lot of, he didn't slap him, he just pushed him, and Dan Skipper fell like a house of bricks. And it was just ridiculous. And even the announcers like, well, it was quite an acting job, and they called the personal foul on Quay Walker. It was such a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
That's the thing that makes me the maddest, because Green Bay held their own. They actually had control of that game. Now, there is another problem. There are 2 other problems we talked about on our last show, and then I'll leave that one go. The other 2 problems were the play calling for Green Bay wasn't stellar. You need to mix it up. When Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for Detroit, is mixing it up, and he's showing you different looks, and he's blitzing linebackers and blitzing cornerbacks and blitzing safeties, you need to do something to combat that. Josh Jacobs had a good game. He had 3 touchdowns. No one's going to take that away from him.
Yeah,
But
great game.
he kept running into the teeth of the defense. Change it up. Do something different. That was problem number 1 I had. The other problem was the middle of the defense, the linebackers, where the linebackers sit and where the cornerbacks come in a little. That was open all day. And at one point, Jared Goff had completed 10 passes in a row right there in the middle.
They were doing what the
5 to
Panthers used to
10
do.
yard. Yeah. The 5 to 10 yard area. And
Yeah.
that was another thing that needed to be fixed. So it wasn't all officials. Green Bay didn't do their homework either. They didn't play a stellar game, but they still only lost 34-31. And had they not gotten, oh, and by the way, there were a couple of 4th down plays that we should have never given up. And there was a 3rd down and 13 or 14. Actually, what it was a 2nd down and 17. The one where Amon-Ra St. Brown pushed Keyshawn Nixon. Had they got that penalty, it would have been 2nd and 27. Then Detroit would not have been able to get a 3rd down play of 15 yards, because it was 2nd and 16 or 2nd and 17. Anyway, they ended up with a 3rd and 2, and then they converted there. So it would have changed it, and they would have gotten a field goal instead of a touchdown. Green Bay should have won that game. So let's move forward. Green Bay now is 2 games under Detroit. 3 games. Detroit still only has 1 loss. We have 3. We're not winning the division.
No.
Detroit would have to lose all their games. Green Bay would have to win all their games. And then Minnesota would have to lose a few for us to win the division. It's not happening.
Not happening.
I'm okay with that. It's fine. Because in 2010, we had to go on the road. We were the 6th wild card. Back then, they only had 6. We're the 6th wild card. And we beat Philly. Then we beat Atlanta. Then we beat Chicago in Chicago. And then we beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it's going to happen again. It could happen, because it did one time. So what I'm saying is, I'm not worried about the placement of where we are. I'm not worried about it. It is what it is. We just take what we get. But I do think this team is capable of doing that. I think they're going to go on a 4-game winning streak right now and win out and go 13-4 and probably be the 5th seed. That's what I think is going to happen. And then anything can happen.
I haven't heard if they would be able to host any of those wild card games. Not being
They won't.
They won't. Yeah, they won't.
Wild cards never can host on the first round, because
the division winners get that
right
privilege.
The division
Yeah.
winners. Yes, exactly.
So week 1 of the playoffs, it's of the 4 division winners, the best record gets a bye week.
Let's just say for all intents and purposes, it's going to be Detroit. So then Tampa Bay, if they win their division, Tampa Bay would go to Philly. And then let's just say my theory plays out. Green Bay is number 5, Minnesota's number 6, Tampa Bay is number 7. Then that means Minnesota would then go to Seattle, and then Green Bay would go to I take that back. Let me Washington. I meant Washington as the other wild card. Tampa Bay would be the division winner. Green Bay would go to Tampa Bay. Washington would go to Philly. That's what I was trying to say. And then Minnesota would then go to Seattle. And Minnesota would have trouble with Seattle.
Has
I don't think-
anybody done any research to see what referee crew is going to be in Seattle tomorrow
I
night?
know. Oh boy, I don't know. I
It'd be
hope
nice
it's
to
not Brad
know.
Allen, and I hope it's not John Hussey's crew. Because John
Uh-huh.
Hussey is awful. He's awful. That's
Yeah.
the one that's the one we just had, and it was almost like, what are we watching the same game here?
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we get a better crew.
We're a
Um,
better team in Seattle. We have a better defense. We have a better offense. Look, it's just a matter of right
the
place, right time.
video's been bouncing around social media this week because of anytime we go to Seattle, the Packers play in Seattle, you got to show the video of
Hail
the
Mary.
the ball that was clearly intercepted, and they gave him a touchdown because the scrub referees didn't really know what they were doing.
Well, one of them said touchdown. The other said no touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Green Bay's ball. And then the other one comes in, and then they did their little tay-to-tay. They talked in the end zone for what seemed like 5 minutes. It was about 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And then they give the touchdown to him. Golden Tate was the receiver. He had one arm in there.
Yeah.
And I forgot who. I don't think it was Morgan Burnett, but he was one of the cornerbacks.
Yeah.
Had his arms around the ball.
Yeah, it's to his chest. He was on his chest.
He had possession of the ball. It was clearly an interception. That was ball game right there. And it was was 12-7 Green Bay, and then of course they kicked the extra point.
That was so long ago that Russell Wilson was the quarterback of the,
and he was a fairly young quarterback. It was 2012. It was 2012.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I guess the memories of that game, and I think there's one other game too that was playoff game in Seattle that did not go our way. That makes me just cringe having to go back to Seattle.
Oh, I know. That was the perfect storm. There were 8 things that went wrong. There was the failed onside kick. Well, failed for us, not for them. And then it went into overtime because they got the touchdown, and then we were out coached by Pete Carroll.
There's that.
Big time out coached. Mike McCarthy got conservative. Julius Peppers tells whoever intercepted the ball, get down, get down, get down. You're on the 50-yard line. There's still 5 minutes left in the game, and you got a specious 19-7 lead. Don't get down.
Yeah.
Run it out. See if you can get maybe down to the 30 so we can at least get a field goal out. We didn't even get a field goal. We ended up punting because there was a sack. Seattle used their timeouts judiciously. There was still 3.5 minutes left. They got the ball back, scored a touchdown. Now it's 19-14. Then Green Bay gets a touchdown. Then they come back and get a touchdown in a 2-point conversion. So Green Bay got a field goal is what I meant. Yeah. So it was 22-14, and then they got the touchdown and the 2-point conversion. Then they got the ball in overtime after the onside kick. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, that one still hurts as well. So.
I really never want to have to relive that one again or have any game going in that direction. So
I don't know if you remember, I was supposed to go to a Super Bowl party, and I had all kinds of stuff. It was our annual Super Bowl party at the church, and not a Super Bowl party. This was the NFC Championship game, but I had all my stuff for the Super Bowl party. I had it all in boxes for 2 weeks later because this was the NFC Championship game. My buddy came over, and he watched the game with me. He lived down the street. Neither of us could go anywhere because we had 12 inches of snow. I don't know if you remember that. The entire city was shut down. So he traipsed down to the house. Him and his son came over. And so we were doing our own little mini football pool. Like, all right, Josh, it was Ron, my buddy, and then his son, Josh. Oh, you remember, Ron, you worked with him. I said, okay, all right. Whoever gets the next touchdown, okay, Josh, you get a prize. Whoever gets the next, if somebody scores a touchdown this quarter, you get to pick a prize. Because I had all these prizes that we weren't going to use for whatever. Or maybe I'm okay. You know what it was? It was the Super Bowl. That's what it was. I'm sorry, I'm getting all my stuff mixed up. It was the Super Bowl. That's why I had all the stuff. So I was giving it all away.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry about that. I get brain fog today, I guess.
Well, it's going to be a big game. It's a Sunday night game, and then the Bears and Vikings play on Monday night.
Yeah, that's
So,
unusual. I'm going to be
it is-
watching football, but I will be kind of casually watching it because I won't have any real rooting interest other than,
Just kind of wondering what's going on.
yeah,
What's
watching my
going to happen?
fantasy football stuff. I'm in the playoffs. I'm second overall, and I got a chance to be first overall.
All right. Well,
I
there's
win
that.
my game, and my opponent loses his. He's got me in points, but we're both tied at 10-4. So
Do you have the Vikings defense?
I do not have the Vikings defense.
Mm.
I was going to have Washington's defense, and my opponent snuck it out from underneath me. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's stolen a player from me. Oh, it's making me mad.
Well, is it 2 weeks of playoff, or does it go all the way to the end of the actual?
No. It goes. This is our last week, and then the
Once
next
football
2
ends.
weeks are the playoffs. But it
Oh.
ends 1 week before the NFL regular season ends. That's
Okay.
because you don't want to take the chance of your quarterback getting rested because he's going into the playoffs, and it still can happen.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. Let's see. A couple of shout outs I wanted to give before we wrap up this week, Tom.
All right.
I wanted to say a shout out to Life Decisions. They had their big Christmas party and fundraiser at Francesco's this past week, and they did a really good job of putting on an event. So kudos to Allie and her team, at her tribe, I should say. I'll get that right. They have a tribe over at Life Decisions. Kudos to that awesome event this week. Next, Rockford, the group held its Christmas party at Sheila's Daiquiri Lounge downtown Rockford. And if you're considering joining not just a networking group, but a community group that really gets to know what's going on around the Rockford area, consider Next Rockford. There was a special discount to join. It's only, even without the discount, it's only like $150 to join for a whole year. And then you get invited to an event every month, and every quarter of the year, we do something with the mayor's office. One of those usually involves the mayor himself to get a firsthand account of what's going on with the city. So it's a really great group. I really highly recommend Next Rockford. The Community Foundation of Northern Illinois had their Excalibur Excelsior Awards this last Thursday night, and I wanted to put this on the screen, Tom, because this was really, really awesome what they did on Thursday night. So let's put this on the screen real quick to recognize the nominees. There we go. The 2024 Excalibur and Excelsior Award finalists. And that included the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Rockford. They ended up being the winner of this year's Excelsior Award. They played a video and showed all the stuff that they did, especially during the COVID pandemic, and the things that the university did on a volunteer basis, really, for the most part, taking care of the community, doing a lot of testing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I was going to say they bore the brunt of the testing as well, as far as the cost, because I went there and got a COVID test, and I didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
So obviously somebody does pay something for it because the pharmaceutical companies make money off of the testing kits, but I don't think the pharmaceutical companies donated anything. So
No.
I believe the University of Illinois probably footed the bill. I don't know. Is footed a word?
There's some 500 plus doctors that volunteered through this whole thing. So they did exceptional work.
Absolutely.
And they continue to make sure that a lot of the great doctors of the Midwest, they give them a reason to stay right here in Rockford. They've got a good thing going there. And that was the reason really why they were founded, was to give doctors an opportunity to get educated right here in Rockford and hopefully stay and continue to practice in our great city. The other nominees in this category was the Discovery Center Museum and the Superhero Center for Autism. So congratulations to them for also being nominated.
Mm-hmm.
In the other category, we had Excalibur Award finalist Kelly Richel-Bull, who of course started Nick's Wish. She's been on our program a number of times. Elaine Breck Excalibur Award finalist as well. She's done all kinds of stuff involved with the museums and other work downtown Rockford as well. And the winner this year was Antonio Ramirez Jr., who his list of things that he's volunteered for and led and been on boards of it's huge. They named at least a dozen different organizations that he's either founded or been on a board of, or was a leader in, all kinds of different things that Antonio has done over the years. And he ended up being this year's winner of the Excalibur Award. So congratulations to him and all those that were nominated. It was a great event. Dan Ross and his team at the Community Foundation of Northern Illinois really did a great job taking care of putting on a great event at Prairie Street Brew House. There was about 550 or so people there. It was packed. It was great. Mayor was there and a bunch of other folks that you would recognize, and a lot of past award winners were there as well. So kudos.
That is so cool.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, by the way, as soon as I typed in Soto on there and sent it to you, I regretted it. I'm like, no. It was Taylor Swift. What I was thinking was that you were putting in Taylor Swift as to throw me off, and then Soto. And then I realized, no, he didn't sign that big of a contract. It was 750, 60, 65, 50, whatever it was.
It was big, but it wasn't billion big.
Well, right. I knew that, but what I was thinking is that maybe it meant that the Mets have a $2.2 billion payroll. Is what I was thinking, and that would be still way off.
That's a good.
No, that's it. It's 210 million is when you start hitting the luxury tax. So no, that wasn't. It was just my brain didn't function properly. I knew it was Taylor Swift. I should have said it, but I didn't.
Last shout out. Thanks to Karen Blasky for being our Linked Lunch presenter yesterday. She's a local author, recently retired from teaching at Rock Valley College. I thought our attendees at Linked Lunch would have more questions about business related things, because Karen taught business courses at Rock Valley College, but none of them did. They were more focused on the fact that she's authored books and has done independent publishing to get them out there. And a very good job.
I suppose if you're a book author, you'd rather have them ask you about your book, right?
Well, she was very happy to talk about either thing. So, if you get a chance, Karen has a booth at the Antique Mall there on North 2nd Street, McChesney Park. She's got a booth there that includes her books, so you'll know it's hers. And she writes under her own name, and she also writes under the name Mick Bogerman. She writes these not children's, but young adult books.
Okay.
And these young adult books are under the pen name of Mick Bogerman, which was kind of interesting to hear her talk about writing as a female adult, as if you were a teenage male. That's talk about a stretch, but she's done it, and she's done very successful with these books. So Karen Blasky is her name. She's a children's book author, and that's not going to focus in on it too. But anyway, there we go. Karen, thanks so much for sharing with our group. She also writes as Eva Blackstone. That's the other pen name that she uses for some of her books. So
J.K. Rowling writes as Robert Galbraith.
Is that one of them?
Yep.
I didn't know she had another pen name.
Yep.
Next week on the show, we're going to talk with Linda Young. Linda runs a group here locally called Moms Angels. What does Moms Angels do? You'll find out all about that next week here on the podcast. And please follow and subscribe us over there on the Spotify. If you feel so inclined, check out our Patreon. We've got a QR code up in the corner of the screen. Your support would be greatly appreciated. And thanks again to Carrie and Margie, Barb and Floyd for joining us with the Carepatrol and the Alzheimer's support group. Their links are in the chat if you want to check them out right on their Facebook page or their website. So any parting thoughts before we wrap up?
Nope, I have no parting thoughts other than the fact that if you're driving today, be careful. I got to drive to Elgin to a DJ gig, and I'll be coming back around 9 o'clock tonight. So just be careful if you're out there, and just have a fun time. Have a good day. I was out yesterday, out and about to a couple of stores, maybe trying to do a little Christmas shopping, and people were just crazy. Don't be one of those crazy people out there. You know?
Show some kindness.
Yeah, show some kindness. Oh, and don't block the aisles with your carts. That I hate. You got your cart kind of crossways, and you're bent over looking at something at the bottom shelf, and somebody can't get by. It's like, come on, let's go. I'm in a hurry.
Mindful of your space bubble. Yeah, it's
There you
don't
go.
be a roadblock. Don't be a roadblock. It's not.
That's
not
right.
nice.
Yeah, because those Walmart aisles get skinnier and skinnier every day. You can barely fit 2 carts down some of those aisles.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, friends. You change the world when you help one person. Be a blessing to someone this week. We'll try to do the same. Hey, today's the 14th. It's 11 days till Christmas. Woo.
Wow. Don't remind me.
Have a wonderful week. We'll meet you back here next week for another In Crowd 815 podcast. Bye, everybody.
Go Packers.
Go Pack, go.
815 in crowd. 815 in crowd.